This is the incredible Roman theater of Catania, Sicily, Italy. Buongiorno, good afternoon. Today is Saturday, June 7th, 2025. Currently 83 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 28 degrees Celsius. A perfect, nice, warm spring day here in Catania on the Italian island of Sicily. Nice fountain here and a market. My hotel room that I showed, not a hotel, really a guest house room, is about a 10-minute walk away or so. I will talk about that room in a minute. Let's wander out of the nice little market here. Straight up ahead is the Piazza del Duomo, the main plaza of Catania, and the cathedral, but not going to walk straight there quite yet. Going to hang a left here. And walk down to the fish market, which sadly is looking like it isn't really happening today. So I flew into Catania airport 2 days ago and then took a break from filming yesterday and to edit that last video of mine, but I came out here and explored around, and the fish market was fully in effect. It was a little bit earlier in the day. That was around 10:30 in the morning or something, so maybe it's more of a morning thing. Yeah, because it looks like they are cleaning up. So that's really too bad, because that was such a classic local scene. So you're not seeing any fish or seafood out now, but there was tons of it, and it was very bustling, so you'll just have to imagine that. But I'm going to talk about how I got here, why I decided to stay in Catania, what there is to see around here. So I have my room there for a week, a full 7 days, although I've been there 2 nights already, so 5 nights left. So I hadn't known about Catania airport. This is my second time to Sicily, I flew into Palermo Airport, I think that was a couple of years ago, and explored the northern and western parts of Sicily. And I knew about Taormina as being a very nice town in Sicily, but it's quite a long ways away. Sicily is a huge island. It's about like a 3 to 4 hour drive from Palermo to here, and so I didn't make it over here that trip, but it had been on my travel list to go see Taormina. And then I was doing my research more than a month ago, back when I was in Kathmandu, Nepal, and I was trying to decide my route from there, where I was going to go. And in the course of my researching flights, I discovered the Catania airport. And so that was a revelation, because that puts you right near both Taormina and Syracuse, which is another city that I want to see. And as it works out, Catania here is situated exactly halfway between the two. It's an hour north up to Taormina on the coast, and it's an hour south down to Syracuse on the coast. And then also, you can see Mount Etna from here. So it was in the news just a few days ago. It erupted pretty majorly. There were hikers on the side of it who had to run. Not sure how much difference the running might have made when you're talking about an erupting volcano, but anyways, there's videos of them running away across the lava, rocks of the mountain, not the burning lava rocks, the ones that are part of the mountain, trying to get away. And you can see the just massive plume of the eruption coming straight up out of the volcano. It was quite dramatic and spectacular. And so I had just sent a text message to my aunt, my mom's sister, just saying, hey, and then I mentioned that I was thinking of going to Sicily, just to update her with my upcoming travel plans. And she responds back and says, I just saw on the news that Mount Etna is erupting. And so I held off on booking a flight, because I was literally about to book a flight that day, and decided to wait and see what happened. And so it turned out it was just that day it erupted. It's not like it blew ash all over the place. It didn't get over here. And I guess that was it. And it hasn't done it since that day, 4 or 5 days ago, whenever that was. And so I think the next day I decided to go ahead and figured if the flight goes, then it must be all right to go there. So this is the Piazza del Duomo and the Cathedral, St. Agatha. Originally constructed in the 11th century AD, so almost 1,000 years ago, but then the original structure was destroyed by an earthquake, and then it was rebuilt, and then it was destroyed by an earthquake and a fire and Mount Etna erupting, something like that, and rebuilt. And so this cathedral was built in the 18th century. Nice main square here. And so from here I have a number of places in mind to visit today in Catania. I am only going to explore Catania today. But I don't know exactly which direction they are. I think a couple of them are out this way. But let's just walk along for now and kind of wrap up a few things. And so I was on the Greek island of Kythera and trying to make up my mind where I was going next, and this was a likely possibility, but it would depend on flights. And so I had booked a flight from Kythera Island back to Athens without knowing where I was going to go next from there. It could have been even another Greek island. But I was figuring I would probably leave Greece since I've been there for a month. I have just 90 days in the Schengen zone of Europe and used up 1/3 of that in Greece. So decided it was time to move on. And so I checked flights. My flight from Kythera to Athens left at 2:30, landed around 3:30. And then it turned out there was a direct flight on Ryanair from Athens straight to Catania at 6:45 in the evening. So perfect timing, and it was like $50-something. And so with luggage and seat selection, it came to, I think, $112. I will put the total amount of the two flights together down below, because the one from Kythera to Athens was also super cheap. So it was under $200 for both of those flights. And so as I showed at the end of my last video, a hint of where I was going, then I was eating these 3 massive pieces of pizza. And that was in the Catania airport, which is very conveniently located just a 10-minute drive out of the city here. Look at this. Catania, however you say that. Cardinal? Card? So, because I was landing a bit late in the evening, then I decided to eat dinner in the airport so that I didn't have to try to find a restaurant. And so I'd ordered 3 pieces of pizza, which I'd seen in the display case. But when they came, I realized, oh man, there's no way I'm going to finish this. So 2 slices of pepperoni and a slice of mushroom with some other stuff on it. And I got halfway through it. So like a slice and a half of that pizza was a full meal. And so I kept the rest, and that was my dinner last night. And so I spent yesterday editing that last video and took a break from the filming. So as I said, I have a full week. So that means 6 full days, and today is the 2nd, so I have 4 full days left. And so you saw the place that I'm staying there at the beginning. And as you could see, it isn't exactly luxury. That room is a slanting ceiling, and so it's a really low ceiling above the bed. I've already banged my back on the wooden board there once so far. And so I'm trying to walk uphill right now because I want to get a view of Mount Etna. So we'll just keep on wandering this way and then go find some of the specific sites to see around here. I decided to stay a week since there is so much to see around here, and had to decide, well, do I go to Taormina, which looks like a very pleasant, pretty town, and looks nicer than Catania, but for one thing it sounded quite touristy, and also then I'm 2 hours away from Syracuse, and so that makes for a long day trip, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. And so I figured that Catania would be a more authentic experience, more convenient location, also for getting to the airport when I fly out, which I have not booked a flight out yet, but probably I will fly to another country from here. So I chose that place there, great reviews, and then get there and I hadn't anticipated the low ceiling. The shower is just teeny tiny, really annoying, and the neighborhood is really rough. It feels like, you know, a drug addict area. But the guy who checked me in, who's really cool, assured me it's perfectly safe around there. And you walk just 2 blocks and then you get into the middle of things here. So good price, and that place definitely has plenty of character. And so, as I said, I've been to Sicily before, and this is my 8th time to Italy. But Italy is one of those countries that pretty much everybody likes. I mean, what's not to like as far as the culture and the food and the architecture? The cities of Italy are just the most amazing in the world, really. So many incredible cities you've heard of course. Rome and Milan and Venice, Florence. And then so many other cities and smaller towns that you haven't heard of that also have these spectacular old towns, incredible cathedrals, squares. So I think that Italy has the best cities in the world. Now, this is my 8th time to Italy. I have been to Greece 17 times. So I've been to Italy about half as many times as I have been to Greece. Now, that might sound like, therefore, I've spent about half as much time in Italy as in Greece, but no, my trips here have been a lot shorter. So I've only spent in total like a couple of months in Italy. I've seen many different regions of Italy, kind of every general area from the Dolomites in the far north to the far south, Sicily, most of the main cities that you hear about. And so I've gotten a good taste of it, but there's still just so much more to see. So always happy to come back to Italy, even though this won't be a long trip. Again, this time, in part, my upcoming travels will be motivated by the fact that I have only 2 months left now in the Schengen zone of Europe, and there are so many places that I want to see. Okay, whoa. Let's see if we can look inside here. And then after here, I will head for one of the must-visit places in Catania, dating back to the very start of the Christian refoundation. Roger I of Hauteville established here the St. Agatha Lavater monastery with the annexed abbey church in 1091, electing as abbot the Breton Ansgar. It was here that the first cathedral of the Norman age was constructed until the Count built the new bishopric in the heart of the city 1094. The church was thus called Vetere to distinguish it from the new cathedral. So the cathedral, which I showed, is also called Saint Agatha, Sant Agatha. Sant Agatha la Vetere was all but destroyed in the 1693 earthquake, with the exception of the crypt. So I think that that one also destroyed the main cathedral. The church was reconstructed in 1722, so same as the main cathedral in the 18th century. Okay, let's see if we can see inside here. Looks like it. And so there we go. That is the volcano, Mount Etna, hovering over the city. Clouds over it today, but no ash. And as it turned out, I happened to walk right in the direction of the Roman amphitheater. Just a few minutes walk down this way. This is really a classic Italian city in which you can just wander, and lots of really amazing buildings, interesting lanes. Unfortunately, we got the graffiti. And Italy isn't the most spotlessly clean country. But It is certainly full of character, and for being a medium-sized country, it is just absolutely packed with places to see. And of course, great dining experiences, the nice shaded squares and alleys. Okay, is it right up ahead here? I guess so. So this is it, but there are two different parts to it. So I'm not sure if this is the main part of the amphitheater or the Odeon. Per me civitas catensivum sublimater a Christo. So my brother's name, but of course referring to Christ. So that does not look like an amphitheater, so I'm assuming this is the Odeon, and the amphitheater is going to be larger. And then there is also a Greco-Roman theater. So maybe this is actually it. Here all in Italian, and then the amphitheater of Catania lays underneath the city buildings following the earthquake of 1693, so that was a major one. It is of the usual type structure for gladiatorial games. The central arena, the annular passages, annular as in ringed, like an annular eclipse, and the sitting steps in the open for 15,000 spectators. So there must be more to it than what you're seeing here. So it was built in the 2nd century AD under the Antoninian emperor. It was abandoned by the end of the 5th century. That is when Rome officially collapsed, 476 AD. It was stripped of the lava wall blocks for the construction of Cathedral by the Normans in the 11th century, and for the city walls by Charles V in the 16th century. So, there you go. Amphitheater Romano, Roman amphitheater. So €4 or about $4.50 for the ticket. And I asked the lady if this included both the Roman amphitheater and the Odeon. And she said the Odeon is different, part of another theater. So maybe that is part of the Greco-Roman theater, or maybe there's a whole other one. But this is in fact the Roman amphitheater of Catania. One of the largest of the Roman Empire. Stood at northern border of ancient Catania, close to the Montevergine hill. So, oh, entrance. I guess we just aren't seeing a lot of it. Whoa, okay. Tunnel going back in there. And so I was on the Peloponnese of Greece and visited the amphitheater, or just theater. I guess an amphitheater is more specifically like the Colosseum, a rounded circular theater. Okay, suggested tour. Whereas the semicircular ones are referred to as just an ancient theater. So I was on the Peloponnese and at Nafplio, and I'm forgetting now what that theater there was called, but it is one of the largest of the Roman Empire, Greek and Roman civilizations. In the course of researching about that one, I discovered that the largest was at Taormina. So Taormina is an hour away from here. And so that really put it on my radar that I really wanted to see that. And so that one at Taormina, I guess, well, it can't be larger than the Colosseum. So anyways, it's one of the largest. Whoa. Wild. I see. So it's really underneath the city. The first modern entrance to the amphitheater. At the beginning of the 18th century, the amphitheater was completely buried or hidden by palaces to the point that scholars doubted its existence. So I guess the actual center of the amphitheater is covered in modern buildings, and so you're not getting the full view of it. Outer facade. Wow, super fascinating being able to get deep in here. So see there, maybe you can look down from the street and then you don't see anything. It's just this little covered hole. The Roman street. The amphitheater was built almost close to the Monte Vergine hill, the Acropolis of Catania. Really, really interesting. It's actually more interesting than just stepping into the center of a theater and only seeing that. You really feel the history and can imagine the gladiatorial games. Not that they were a game for everybody when your life is on the line. Okay, so what do we see here? You are here. Not there, but there. So you can see we are right in the amphitheater, or rather in the hallway ringing it. And so yes, in fact, the actual seats, the center of the gladiatorial area is over there. And so I'm not clear on whether we're going to get a better look at that. During the Middle Ages, the amphitheater was incorporated by the city walls. Along the line of the current alley that bears the name of the monument, which corresponds to part of the arena, the podium and the steps of the cavea, around 1720 was built the princely Villa Cerami, now the seat of the law department of the University of Catania. And so we're walking through the tunnels that surround the theater. Intense. Man. The Romans were just such master architects. I mean, looking at this wall and the arched ceiling, I mean, 2,000 years later, 1,900 years later, it is just so freaking solid. And this is, you know, just a tiny little piece of it. Okay, so very curious to see what we're going to see here with the daylight emerging. Are we back? Oh, we might be just back at the beginning, I guess. Yes, there's the entrance. So we never actually see the middle of the amphitheater. Okay, here we can get a little bit of a view, but this is what we saw from above, and so I guess these are the seats here, but there is the center of the theater. So you can see this is just one small section of it, and then being an amphitheater, it made a complete circle. So that's where we were before. The arena, where the shows took place, has an elliptical plan of 40 by 60 meters. So there you go, it's, I guess you call that an ellipse. The visible part of it is the most northern part of the ellipse. Oh, yeah, an ellipse. Unlike that of other amphitheaters, including the Colosseum, the Catania arena had no structures below the floor because it was built on a hard surface of a lava flow on which a layer of sand was spread and periodically changed. Along its perimeter, there is a podium originally covered with marble slabs. Okay, so there is a depiction of what it looked like, and you can get a better sense of the grandeur of it. Amazing. Okay, now let's head over to the Greco-Roman theater and find out if that is where the Odeon is. And it looks like we have a happening market up here, so let's go check it out. This city is very walkable. Everything is 5 minutes, 10 minutes walk here and there. Not that I've seen very much of the city, but all of the main sites seem to be all clustered close to each other. All right, so what kind of a market is this? Seems like random stuff. And some food smells. Pizzeria. Whoa. So that is the symbol of Sicily. Really cool image. Amazing. The last thing I need right now is a pair of shoes. So freaking cute. So, as anyone who follows this channel knows, I wear sandals a lot. Got my new Tevas that I bought in Greece, replacing my old Teva sandals. And so I go on these, you know, hikes up trails wearing the sandals, and lots of people say, oh, you should get some real footwear. Buy some shoes for your hikes. So first problem is, if it's hot out, I don't want to wear a pair of shoes. And if I'm somewhere that it's going to be hot most of the time, then I have no need for a pair of shoes. Socks and sandals works. It's cheesy, it's totally a fashion rebellion, nerdy, whatever you want to call it, but it is super practical. For example, you can head out in the morning if it's cool, wear socks and sandals. Then if it warms up, you take off the socks and suddenly you're a lot cooler. You can't do that with a pair of shoes. And then if you're wearing pants, then you roll up the pants, and so you can walk out in cool weather and then also be prepared for warmer weather. But I am experiencing now what a massive pain it is to have a pair of shoes that you aren't wearing. So I bought these shoes in Kathmandu for the trek in the Himalayas with my brother Christo. And so those shoes were super cheap, $12, which even for Nepal was crazy cheap. But then they started falling apart right away. Specifically, the soles started coming off on the trek. They'd seemed good, like new looking. He said they were discounted for some reason, so I just thought, okay, they're regular shoes. And then, like that day that I bought them, the sole starts coming off. And so I bought a bunch of super glue and glued it, and that did the trick until the second shoe sole started coming off. And so I glued that one as well, and that did the trick, and so far that is holding. So I'm hanging on to those shoes because I'm planning to go into the mountains, specifically the Tatras mountains of Poland and Slovakia. So this market is obviously wrapping up. So let's start heading back towards the other Greco-Roman theater. And so I'm hanging on to those shoes for now, but I don't need them. And so I run into the issue on this flight, for example. I knew it wasn't going to be cold in the airports or the plane for a short flight. It doesn't tend to get too cold. And so I didn't want to wear the shoes and be stuck in the airport, like overheating, when you have the advantage of these socks and sandals. So I can wear the sandals just by themselves, put a pair of socks into my backpack so that when I go into the airport, if it does get a little cool, I put the socks on and boom, I'm warmer. Whereas with the shoes, you can't do that. And so then I had to figure out how to pack the shoes into my backpack, and they just take up so much space. It is such a pain. So there you go. That is why you see me hiking around wearing sandals, because if I'm not in mountains or cold or rain or wherever where you definitely want a pair of shoes, then I'm not going to be wearing them, and then I don't want to be stuck trying to figure out what to do with them when I'm not wearing them. All right, really cute little plaza here. All right, let's head back towards the main plaza, which is the direction of the other theater. Medicinal marijuana, urban haze, dispensary, cannabis light, CBD oil, medical, vapo shop, hemp shop, cannabis food. So, not exactly sure if it is fully legal or just medicinal marijuana, but there you go. Cannabis shop. Looks closed today. So I'm back down where I was before. Turns out the Greco-Roman theater is right around the corner over there. And so I wanted to mention about what I've eaten in the past few days. Today being my third day here, technically, though I arrived late in the evening my first day. But I mentioned the pizza that I had at the airport. So yesterday I went out and I went shopping for breakfast stuff around the main square. And so I went to like 3 different places and got all these great cannolis, right? Is one of the Italian sweets, the rolled up like little hard pancake thing with like frosting inside. Really good. So I got a couple of those, and then some cookies and some I don't know, pizza type pastry things. A ball that was salmon pistachio. Never heard of or come across this one before. It was this ball about this big, very heavy, and really tasty. I didn't eat the whole thing. And so that was enough stuff for 2 breakfasts, yesterday and today. And then, as I mentioned, I had the leftover pizza for dinner last night, and then I still have some leftovers that I might end up having for dinner tonight. I'll see, but if I don't show dinner at the end, then that is why. Of course, Italy, some of the best food in the world, so I'm looking forward to making full use of the various restaurants, but might get by with the leftovers tonight. So there will be plenty of Italian food in my upcoming videos. Teatro Greco, the archaeological area of the theater and the Odeon. So this is the Odeon and the Greco-Roman theater. So originally created by the Greeks. The archaeological site of the theater and Odeon of Catania is built on the southern slope of the Montevergine hill, populated since prehistoric times, and place of the Greek Chalcidian colony of Katana, founded in 729-728 BC. The theater visible today was built in the 1st century AD on an existing Greek building, of which have been recently discovered some structures in the stage. Between the 3rd and 4th centuries AD, it underwent renovations and changes documented by epigraphs and interventions in the Paradoi. Eastern atrium and various Roman blocks and columns and statues. So again, getting a good look at the underbelly of the amphitheater. Wow. Another amazing piece of history here. a really nice complement to the other one to be able to see this one more intact. I'm not clear now which one could hold more spectators, because this one is quite large as well. Okay, well, I think that is going to do it for my tour of Catania today. Going to head back to the cool, quiet room and get to work. But much more coming from Sicily, Italy. I will do my best to capture the fish market if I find it in full swing one of these days. So looking forwards to Taormina, that is going to be amazing. Syracuse, and there is much more to see around here. So it is going to be a very fascinating week of exploring. All right, more coming from Italy. See ya.